All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. The big kahuna is not here yet. She's still on her way back from Riverside. And Mike Nager is sick today. So that came down to the next guy, which it should have been Gibbs or somebody else, but anyway. But you were late. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Roll call, County of Riverside 3rd District Supervisor. I don't know if he's here yet. Chuck. They're all in that same area, so. City of Canyon Lake, Mayor Don Haggerty. Are they there? Nope. City of Lake Elsinore, Steve Manos. Okay, great, thank you. City of Menifee, member Lisa Sobek. And then City of Marietta, Mayor Rick Gibbs is of course here. And Councilmember Long is not coming in. Just one of you, right? Okay. City of Temecula, we know that one already. American Cancer Society, Susan Hepner. Okay. Kathy, that's you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't look at your name there. Michelle's Place, Marilyn Watson. Or Kim, okay, hi Kim. Inland Empire Health Plan, Dr. Jennifer Sales. It's Sales, right? Okay, sounds good. And that's your Victoria then? Gotcha. Loma Linda University, Peter Baker. Ah, there you go. Awesome. And then Riverside, well, then that means Cheryl's your alternate, right? Oh, Cheryl's here. Man, I need to look up. Riverside University Health Systems, Michael DeBarden.
No, but Solomon Wanga, epidemiologist with Riverside.
Okay. And Alice Fang? She's Oh, that's Scripps. I'm sorry. That was Scripps. How did I mix it? Oh, I got you. I didn't see that. It looked like I had my finger on the little dot. Sorry. So, Salomel Waga. Okay, very good. And then Michael Barden or Alice Fang from Scripps. All right, Temecula Valley Hospital, Darlene Wetton. Okay. UC Riverside School of Medicine, Dr. Samar Nahas. And Dr. Michael. Well, we don't like Menifee Valley. Michael Naduda. I'm just kidding. I'll say it. Menifee Valley Medical Center, Rick Burb. Fiber. Okay. UC San Diego Health, Brandon Chase. Aaron, oh, thank goodness he's here. Someone can be in charge. Aaron Bazak. Anyone? And local medical doctors, Dr. Amy Bremer. Dr. Richard Chinook. Dr. David Horner. And Dr. Arun Kalra. Okay. Dr. Evelyn Mendoza. Okay. Dr. Julie Schwenka. Is that right? And Dr. Mark Spicer. Nope. Okay. With that, we'll do public comments. Anybody have any public comments before we start the rest of this? No? Seeing none, then we'll turn it over to the lady in charge.
All right. Thank you so much for calling roll for us. And now I'd like to introduce our caregiver testimonial. Jim, would you please come join us and take about 5 minutes to tell us a little bit about your experience. And again, the purpose of this is really to remind us why we're here and how we can continue to work for people who have cancer and their families.
Thank you. In regards to being a caregiver, well, Kim just called me a few days ago from Michelle's Place, and that's where my wife, Amy Towle, who was very much involved with Michelle's place for many years on the board. And she had cancer for almost 14 years and battling it on and off. We were married about 10 years ago, and at that point she was in full remission. A few years into the marriage, she started feeling different things again, and she had lymph node issues and whatnot, and the cancer had come back. And we started to get some simple treatments at the first beginning, and they put her on tamoxifen and other things. But Amy was a real big fighter in the regards to cancer, and she didn't like medications per se. She was like, for pain, she only would take like ibuprofen and things over the counter. But over the years, her pain got bigger and bigger, and her lymph system got more compromised with the cancer, and it spread to her brain at one point about 1.5 years ago. And we underwent a lot of difficulties at that point because we had to drive up to City of Hope. And that was pretty much the only place that could handle a girl like Amy's case. So long drive, needless to say, tedious for her, especially for going through radiation. And when she went through the radiation part of everything, that was hard because it was every single day she had to go up for a measly 15-20 minutes of treatment, and then drive 2.5 hours up and 2.5 hours back, if that was a good day, if it was 2.5 hours and less traffic. So, that could just frustrate anyone, really, just to drive. So, but her mom was a big instrument in everything and helped us a lot with driving, but not everybody was as fortunate to be able to get as much help as Amy was. About 2.5 months ago, after the radiation had taken place and all her tumors in the brain had shrunk down, which we were happy about. And unfortunately, though, she suffered a stroke in the end. And this is now 14 years after her first mastectomy and everything, and the breast cancer tour she went through. So the stroke put us, way back, and the hospital here in Temecula we stayed with for a few days, they couldn't really do anything. So basically, they gave us an option, and there was only one, that's hospice. And this is, long story short, but the same evening they told us hospice going to be involved. I didn't like the, word of hospice, because that always to me means like the end of everything. But we decided to do that anyways. Amy was now paralyzed on the entire left side, and we got her home the next day, and I started the caregiving with Mom as a help, and her sister helped out a little bit too. But all night long I would sit up with her, and I would do everything to ease her pain and do the best I could with changing diapers and whatnot. And those are kind of things that you really never think when you get married, that one day I'm going to change my wife's diaper. That's just not right. But nevertheless, we had a good last month of her life together, and if anything else came out of it, we became closer in that month. And the problem was, though, her pain started getting worse and worse, laying in that hospital bed and being restricted to not being able to do anything. And we had to lift her just to the wheelchair. Out to the bathroom was a huge task for her at this point. So, they started giving her morphine, and they started giving her methadone, which backfired on them because methadone is a longer, pain relief than morphine. So they thought that would be a good idea, and it wasn't for Amy. She had a bad reaction to it, and that furthermore sent her even more backwards at that point. So, nevertheless, one of the last things in being the caretaker was kind of interesting, because I read the booklet that the hospice program had, given us. And one of the things that it said there, you got to talk to your loved one in regards to letting them go, or letting them do what is best for themselves. So the night before Amy passed away, we had like a moment, a very interesting moment. And I'm not sure if it's appropriate to share this, but I will do that anyways. We basically at 2 o'clock in the morning, she was all clear suddenly, like completely clear. And she almost talked like with a clear voice as well. And I said, "Are you okay, sweetie?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't feel so much pain right now." I said, "Listen, you need to do what you need to do for yourself, not for me, not for our furry kids, not for your sister, not for mom, not for anyone. Do what you need to do for yourself. They're giving you a lot of bad medications at this point." And, I don't know if she was all there, but it seemed like that. She actually petted me on my head and just went like so, and she said, "It's okay, Jim. It's going to be okay." And she comforted me that last night. And then she gave me one hug with her right hand, real tight. And I was like, wow, it's like power came back to her or something. And then she just relaxed. And I went and laid down on the couch. And the next morning, her breathing was starting to get more labored. And it was hard to see because I felt something wasn't right. I went to work, and then suddenly something told me, just go home. And I went home, and her breathing was even worse at this point. So I called a nurse in from the hospice place, and she only was there for a minute, and she says, "She's shutting down. This is it." And it was like very labored, the breathing. So we sat for the next 5.5, 6 hours with that, and basically I think she had already actually left her system at that point. She was maybe just, the heart was just working her body at this point. So I'm not sure how much she was really hearing or understanding, but we try to give her as much love in the end. And at 5 o'clock on May 10th, she passed away. And it was hard. And I don't know really what to say more than that, but it would be nice if a powerful place like City of Hope would have extensions, just like, universities have, University of Phoenix or whatnot, they have extensions out in different areas and different states. It would be nice if City of Hope had extensions where they could, treat people and help people so they didn't have to, travel so long and put so much time into it, because they're already suffering, at that point. But nevertheless, we've had a lot of support from people like Marilyn and Kim and everyone from Michelle's place. They came to see Amy many times while she was in the hospice bed, and so she had a lot of friends, she had a lot of love and a lot of support in the end, and she knew that. And that's about it. Oh, just one thing too, this is kind of just weird, but she always loved to meditate and do things right, and breathing things and exercises. And she had a doctor that came to the house and did exercises with her. And she never came back upstairs after she came home. She was downstairs in that hospice bed, and we couldn't lift her up. She was too frail. So a month after she had passed away, I went up to her meditation stuff, and she has this little bowl of rocks and minerals and whatnot, and there was these cards in there, and it was a stack this thick, like probably 50, and there was all sorts of affirmations. Like, she knew she knew before all this that she was done with this cancer. She almost, and some of the things, and I want to show them to Kim one day, but some of the things she wrote was like so directed like towards me that I needed not to worry anymore. And she's very spiritual, but it was just like a shock to find these things. So, but thank you for letting me talk, and I don't know if it helped anything, but
that's exactly the reason we're here.
okay.
We want to find those services here so that people don't have to be on the road like that, so they can
Right.
spend more time with their families.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you.
So we are ready for the staff update, and I apologize for being late. If any of you are looking for 2 large boxes of clothing or household items, they are scattered on the 215 freeway between 4th Street in Paris and Harley Knox.
Betsy Lowry. I'm with the City Manager's Office at the City of Temecula, and this will be very brief. Just a funding update since our last meeting. WRCOG has awarded different funding for our consultant who's doing great work for this cancer task force. And that contract with the city is $77,500. And as you can see, a few changes. At the time we did the original bids, Murrieta had not yet known of their amount, but it is $6,000, not zero. And Menifee's is $6,000, not $7,500, so the difference is just a slight bit. IEHP has pledged up to $20,000. Our contract, so we have $82,000 altogether, and the contract's $77,500. So if there's a little wiggle room through IEHP. So you're getting your contracts now through WRCOG, and I think Lake Elsinore, Temecula, and Menifee has signed theirs and returned theirs. Yes. I think we're still waiting for Murrieta, County of Riverside, to sign theirs as well. I just didn't want any surprises, and just to let you know and be transparent about the funds. So there is a little bit, which is a good thing in case we need extra work from HARC.
That's great. Thank you, Betsy, and thank you to all cities and county that have contributed. I think it's important, and once we realize where our shortcomings are, we really can band together and start to solve this issue, whether it's recruiting issues or taking advantage and better publicizing the resources that we have. So thank you to everyone. So right now we have a guest speaker, Sonia Jackson, Physician Recruitment Development Director, Riverside County Medical Association. So Sonia. Sonia? No? Apparently not. All right. Well, yeah, if she's on the 2:15. Yeah, it's a dead stop while they clean up the debris. So let's move on then to subcommittee updates. So Jenna, you want to go ahead?
Actually, this is a fortunate break because we actually have something that I'd like to introduce you to several students here who are members of a Future Physician Leaders Program, FPL. And this is a fabulous program originally hatched out of Dr. Raul Ruiz, who is my congressman, out of UCR, to help grow our physician base here in the Inland Empire. And so part of FPL is going through a great deal of training. They do community health projects. And we have some here today who I would like to invite up to speak, both to introduce themselves to you, since they will be taking care of us in, 10 years or so. And also because they have a project that's very, very relevant to this particular task force that they would like to ask our help with. So if you guys would come up and do, each of you, if you just want to do a brief introduction, your name, where you're going to school, what are you expecting for your medical career, and then if one of you can talk about your project, that would be wonderful.
All right, thank you so much for having us here, first off. My name is Annalisa Steltner, and I go to UCR as an undergrad, and as she said, we're part of the Future Physician Leaders Program, so we all aspire to be future physicians. And a little about myself, I actually grew up here in Temecula my whole life, pretty much, and I hope to come back and help everyone in this community once I become a physician, hopefully.
Hi, my name is Christopher Vasquez. I go to San Francisco State University. I came here to Temecula when I was about 8 years old. I graduated out of Great Oak High School, and I aspire to be in orthopedics, and I would like to come back to Temecula and hopefully become an orthopedic in practice here. And yeah.
Love hearing that.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emmanuel Solis. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up here. I still live here. I go to college at Cal State San Marcos. I'm a biology major, and unlike my colleagues, I want to be a physician assistant, and I want to come back here and work in primary care. And I love this city. Ever since I did the Future Physician Leadership Program, I've wanted to come back. All right, and
So the purpose of our presence here was to actually ask if we could help, if you guys would help us with our survey, because our project right now is focused on breast cancer, and most likely, more importantly, on the resources of breast cancer. Because as I was growing up here, my family personally has been affected by breast cancer, and I never really saw much resources here in Temecula for breast cancer. Usually we had to go to San Diego or somewhere else in Temecula. So when we decided to do our project on breast cancer, we really wanted to see what kind of resources were here in Temecula, and and we really wanted to reach out to them and we actually created a website that shows all those resources, and even created a blog. And the person that really helped us was actually Kim from Michelle's Place. We had a meeting with her, and she really helped us on our website and helped us on our survey too. But yeah, that's basically our project right now, is to show the resources of breast cancer in the Temecula or the Inland Empire, in fact, and to see how many people are aware of breast cancer, the symptoms of breast cancer, have actually been proactive in getting tests for breast cancer, and to see if, even though they don't have the symptoms, to just check annually. And that's a brief overview of our project and what we are trying to achieve.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. What exactly have you guys done so far to further your research? Have you put your surveys in doctors' offices or places where cancer patients, visit or frequent, things like that?
As of right now, we were trying to do that with the Relay for Life. We wanted to go there and get some breast cancer patients or survivors to take our survey, but unfortunately the dates wouldn't really match up with that. And then with Michelle's Place, we're still working on that one. But right now we've actually just been doing the general public, from our personal families or just people in general that have been taking our surveys. Right now we have around 43 people that have done our survey.
That's good.
So we're getting some good feedback, and we're just waiting on the other two.
So have you considered, it's kind of a no-brainer to work with doctors' offices and see if you can get them to participate, but have you thought about going around town, Temecula, Murrieta, and seeing if you can get some cooperation from dentists and see if they will make the surveys available while people are waiting in their offices and then collect them for you?
Actually, never have thought about that yet, but yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Any place where people wait, where there's an opportunity to wait is great. And then if you can get the cooperation of the dentist, and when you go in to visit them, and any nonprofit person and volunteer will tell you this, you take them a little gift, you take them a little cookie thing with the bow on it and all that, and some of the surveys, and the surveys aren't really long. No, so that's even better.
Maybe
And,
not a cookie to the dentist.
yeah, that's not cookies to the dentist. Yeah, that's probably not, but something, and ask them, because I tell you, every dentist, every dental tech, everybody has been touched by cancer, and it's very encouraging when you have people who know they want to be physicians or physician assistants going in. It's an easy sell for you guys, just let me put it that way. Yeah. I don't see how anyone could resist doing that. So, think about resources like that, and I know any of us would be glad to help any way we can. We can take the surveys for you, but and we'd be glad to circulate them through City Hall, and they're anonymous, right?
Yeah.
So we could do a little box, and people could just drop them in the box if you want to do it that way, so there's no HIPAA violations or anything like that. So what would you like us to do?
That would be really great if we could do that.
No.
Oh, I thought you told me. We would like just to kind of get our surveys more out there, so we can get like a really accurate dynamic on how many people are aware of this cause and how many people are getting their yearly mammograms.
Krista, will you not send the link to your website to everybody in the time?
Oh yeah, we have a link to our website and to our survey. Our survey is also electronic, so it can be done on a computer or anything like that. But if you would like, a paper copy, we could also do that. But yeah, our goal is mostly to get our survey, as many people as we can, basically, to take our survey to really get an accurate view on how many people are aware of breast cancer, how many people are, taking the necessary precautions to see if they have breast cancer, be aware of symptoms and everything like that.
Sure. Now, Betsy, I know that there could be issues with HIPAA and anonymity, confidentiality. I don't know, is there some way we could do that on our website and collect information anonymously? We can look into that for you.
Oh,
and
that
see if
would
we
be
could.
amazing.
No.
No, we don't.
No.
The only thing we ask is basically their age, their ethnicity, just to get that get in that area.
Mhm.
And then after they're just general questions, have you done a mammogram? Are you aware of breast cancer? Do you know the symptoms? Everything like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, any other suggestions, Kim?
Yeah, I think the link is the best part for them. They electronically is going to be the best way.
Oh, you guys use your mics.
I think the link is the best way because it's the easiest way to disperse it versus the paper copy, because then they can tally it better because they have I would assume you have the back door where
Yeah.
you guys are telling everything on the
Well,
webpage.
we can talk to Karen at Temecula Talks.
Yeah,
And see
exactly.
if Temecula Talks will help to promote it and reassure people that it's anonymous. They have 43,000 members.
Yeah.
What-
So,
I'd like to ask, what's your goal? Like, how many surveys would you like? What are you trying to accomplish?
Honestly, for the goal of how many surveys, just as many as we can. We would like to get above at least 100.
Okay.
Would be actually great.
So
Um,
I don't live in the city of Temecula, but I live in the city of Menifee. And then we have Tim Walker. He's from the city of Wildemar. And then we have Rick.
and Marietta.
Marriott. I mean, we have different cities here, so if we get those links, I'd be happy to share it at my city. I
Yeah,
give a
that'd be great.
report out of this meeting, and I could give that report out. We have our online Menifee 24/7, which has over 20,000 likes, and they would be happy to share it. If I had that link, I could share it.
Yeah, I mean, we are centered in Temecula because, our program is through Temecula, but we are trying to get it through the Inland Empire. So, we are trying to include all those other communities as well. Just because we are in Temecula, we are trying to do the best we can in our community as well. But yeah, it would be, awesome if we could get Marietta and Menifee and everyone else to really just, and we also, in our personal website, we are creating a blog as well to have breast cancer patients in the Inland Empire communicate with each other and have any, if they have any questions, another survivor or just a regular person could answer that question, or just for someone to be there for them that's going through the same thing or has experience in the same thing. We're just trying to create a resource to really help this community.
So what's the link? You gonna send it?
Yes.
All right. Because I'm ready to go.
Quick question. I was going to say they need to do it quickly because you guys only have a couple more weeks.
Yeah, we only have a couple more.
Okay.
As soon
So,
as
quick
possible.
question. It seems like you guys are focusing on Temecula, but you might be getting information from other neighboring cities.
No, that's good.
Do you have on your survey, do you have a field for perhaps zip code or to kind of identify where the person is, or do you ask for the city or the zip code or anything like that?
Not yet, but we can include that.
Might be good.
Yeah.
That might be helpful in kind of understanding even regions within Temecula or neighboring or bordering areas.
And one other thing, so I work, I'm a breast cancer surgeon, so obviously I see only breast cancer patients. So you could drop off, if you do paper surveys in my office or at the imaging center next door where we see, you said 100 surveys, you'd have that in a day.
Okay.
Because there are people in there doing screening mammograms, hundreds of people. So
Yes.
if you do paper surveys while they're waiting, which they do, I'm sure you'd get multiple.
Actually, Dr. Hizon,
Yeah.
we were talking to him yesterday, and he actually recommended you. So we were going to come to your office soon.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So I think you're gonna get more than 100.
All right.
So that's great. So thank you very much. And that's the kind of information we need.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. Good job. And Betsy just told me that Sonia Jackson is here. So were you on the 215? Yes, I was. Yep, I knew it. I knew it. Did you see all the debris?
Yes, once I got on it.
Yes.
I'm glad I missed it.
They're both there, so I don't know which one it was.
Okay, it's that one.
Okay. Just double click it and then hit that to start. When you're all done, just leave it out.
And then this to move it?
Either that or the arrow.
Okay,
Here or here.
perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you for all for having me today. I appreciate it, and your patience for me being a little delayed.
Oh, I was delayed. I was in the same backup you were in, so.
Okay, great. I work for the Riverside County Medical Association, and we are focused on addressing the physician shortage in Riverside County to care for those that are underserved, of course. Just a little bit about how my position came about. My position was developed at RCMA's leadership retreat for 2015-2017, so it started back in 2015. And here are some of the board members. Some of them you may recognize as local physicians in the area. But the physician recruitment and retention plan was developed to create a marketing campaign and showcase all the wonderful communities we have within Riverside County, and to provide support to the practices that have opportunities available, but we're having difficulty seeking out physicians to fill those open opportunities. They also wanted to focus on adding recruitment firms as business partners of the association to assist those practices with hiring new physicians to fill their openings. And then they wanted to develop what a package would look like for smaller practices. A lot of the smaller practices have a problem when it comes to competing with the bigger entities. They don't have the resources available to provide these amazing incentives and packages to these physicians. So, we wanted to get behind that and ensure that we offered them some solutions in that area. Another focus of the program that they wanted, or I should say, that they wanted me to focus on was attending recruitment fairs for residents and new doctors. It's very important that we get out there and showcase how wonderful practicing in Riverside County would be for them, all the benefits to practicing, as well as living in our communities. They also wanted me to focus on having open houses at the various practices throughout our county, welcoming in these physicians so they could get a feel for the practice itself and hopefully fill those openings. They also wanted to develop a Match.com type of service, and with that, I mean they wanted me to be able to meet these candidates and match them up with openings that would fill both the physician's needs as well as the practice's needs, because there are many physicians out there, but that doesn't mean that they fit into all the practices that have openings. So we wanted it to be a nice match. And we, of course, wanted to get our presence out on social media, videos, YouTube, email, Facebook, Twitter, all of those things. So I've been focusing there, trying to get us out there and promote what a wonderful community, or what wonderful communities we have in Riverside County. The focus of the program so far, I came on board in September 2016. I have been providing presentations to the various residency programs in Riverside County, focusing on the benefits, again, of living and practicing in Riverside County, providing them with job searching tips, helping them with breaking down really what was important to them when it comes to open opportunities. Some physicians work well in small practices, some want those big multi-specialty groups, and others are more hospital-based focused. So in order for it to be a good fit for these physicians out the gate, we need to really understand what it is that's important to them and where they would work best. Another area that I'm focusing on is, or I focused on, was compiling a list of student loan programs that physicians who come to practice in Riverside County would be eligible for. There's a lot of loan programs out there that are available if these physicians choose to practice in an underserved area. So we definitely want to use that as an incentive to get them out here into practice. I have been attending career fairs over the past year. Most of them are located in Southern California. We want to try to get our California doctors out into the opportunities we have available in our area, because it's easier to transition them into those opportunities because they're not waiting for their California medical license and things along those lines. But I am from the East Coast, the Boston area, so I did go back there and visited family back in April, and I attended a fair out there to bring some of the East Coast physicians who are tired of the snow and cold back to warm, sunny California to fill our openings, and I'm excited about that. I've actually retained quite a few physicians and got them to move out here, including a gastroenterologist with 30 years experience. So he's going to be moving out here and practicing. Very excited about that, and and we'll love welcoming into our community. I do meet with practices regularly in Riverside County if they are a RCMA member or if they are an IEHP provider. And I sit down and I assist them with the recruiting process. And that's from helping them write their job postings to helping them develop an incentive plan to offer these physicians that are coming on board, as well as connecting them with candidates that I've met during my recruitment events. I have collaborated with the various economic development departments within Riverside County, as well as the cities within the county. I haven't hit them all yet, but I am working on it. And just really letting them know that we're out there, that we're focused on bringing physicians to our county to practice and care for the members of our community, and asking them for support. In order for us to overcome the physician shortage that we're currently experiencing, it's going to take the whole county taking a part and all kind of coming together and making this happen. A city all by itself isn't going to make it happen. It's going to take many cities. Another focus is ranging physician socials. We currently have one that is going to be taking place in the city of Marietta at the end of August. And that's an opportunity for physicians and residents to come together along with medical practices and hospitals that might be hiring, and just kind of socialize in a low pressure setting, if you will, just getting to know each other and network, and maybe they're not looking for a job today, but they met, someone at, a hospital that down the road they may reach out to when they are looking for an opportunity. So it's really important that we kind of get them all together so that they can make those connections and build those relationships. I've spent a lot of time working in developing a recruitment toolkit. The toolkit is to assist practices with recruiting physicians, which I find is an important key in the recruitment process, because a lot of practices are really good at practicing medicine, but they don't know all the ins and outs or what it's going to take to actually recruit that physician. So I want to give them the roadmap to be able to do that successfully. I've also done the same thing for residents, for when they complete their residency training, so that they can go out into the community and secure a job that they will stay at long term. Statistics show that a majority of physicians will leave their first job opportunity within 3 years, and we don't want that. We work so hard to get them to stay in our county. We want to make sure that we keep them happy and that they choose a position in our county that's going to work for them.
Why is that, Sandra? Why do they leave in the first 3 years?
I think there's a lot of reasons to it. Some of the main ones that I hear is the physician might have been focused on a certain salary, and they didn't look, so they took a position based on that salary, when they should have maybe taken a position that was paying a little less, but when you add in all the incentives, like maybe they have 3 weeks vacation, maybe they get quarterly bonuses, things along those lines, the compensation package was much better. So they end up leaving, seeking out an opportunity that's gonna fill all of their, little boxes, rather than the one they took initially that just filled one, because the money sounded good.
To pay off the college loans. Yeah.
And that's why it's important we really focus on those loan repayment programs that they're eligible for.
Yeah.
We also developed a website called SoCal Doc Jobs. That website right now is free for RCMA members and IHP providers who have open job opportunities to go on and post their job openings. The nice thing about this site is it only lists jobs that are in Riverside County, and there's a few in San Bernardino County, because IHP does support San Bernardino County as well. I do want to acknowledge and thank IHP for their willingness to partnership with RCMA and assist us with the resources we needed for this vital program. Without them, we would not be able to do the wonderful things that we are doing today. Our need in inland Southern California falls well below the recommended supply of primary care physicians, and is one of 2 areas in California that fall short for the recommended supply of specialists. And that is imperative to, it is imperative that we overcome this shortage, because as you know, when we don't have the specialists that our members of our community need, they're going to seek services in another county, and we don't want that.
Right.
It costs us jobs, it costs us money. Healthcare in Riverside County. Riverside County has 48.8 primary care physicians per 100,000. Chronic illness is the leading cause of death in Riverside County, and cancer is the second leading cause of death in Riverside County. So it is imperative that we address the shortage and we find ways to bring state-of-the-art cancer treatments and facilities here to our area to care for those in our community. When you break it down, cancer accounts for 25% of all deaths in our county, and that's a large number. Why is there a physician shortage in Riverside County? Due to the ACA, the increase in Medi-Cal enrollments have skyrocketed, putting pressure on the healthcare providers in the county. This is an issue that needs to be addressed, with all cities coming together to overcome. In 2014, IHP added 350,000 new patients to their system as due to the ACA. So that's a huge increase in patient population, and you can imagine with that many individuals jumping onto their system and us lacking physicians, how long the wait is to have the services that we need. Between 2000 and 2010, Riverside County was ranked the 5th most rapidly growing county in the U.S. That again is another reason why we are experiencing the physician shortage. Physicians are drawn to coastal communities, OC, LA, and San Diego. I hear this time and time again when I'm out there recruiting physicians. They've worked hard and they want to be in the area that puts them at peace. And oftentimes I have to remind them that they're just beginning their career, and a majority of their time is going to be spent practicing. So to move to those areas and have the burden of working long hours and not enjoying those areas makes no sense. Where they can move to Riverside County that has wonderful aspects itself and still have a lower cost of living than they would experience in those coastal communities. Increased Medi-Cal enrollment is another facet of the reason why we have the shortage. And physicians in Riverside County are retiring faster than they can be replaced. Oftentimes, I'm speaking with physicians that have been practicing for 30, 40 years, and they'll say to me, Sonia, I want to retire. Can you find someone to take over my practice? You know, can you find someone to help out so I can maybe work just 1-2 days a week? They know that they can't leave and stop practicing and retire because their patients will be left with no one. Yeah. So they stay on board, and they're giving up those years that they can be enjoying taking care of us. So that's kind of a wonderful thing for us, but a sad thing for them. Another issue is the low number of residency programs in the region. We are working very hard to bring new residency programs to the Inland Empire area. They're coming slowly, but not at the rate that we need them to come in order to overcome the shortage that we're currently experiencing. How the PCP shortage affects the diagnosis and treatment of cancer. PCP shortage equals an extended wait time to receive cancer screenings and referrals to specialists. Specialist shortage equals extended wait times to receive treatment. And the lack of specialists in Riverside County force cancer patients to seek treatments in other counties, including Orange County, LA, and San Diego. We have to remember, not all of the members of our community have the ability to travel. So for them, where are they left? If you don't have a physician to go see, you're stuck waiting there, counting your days, and that's not fair. Riverside County lacks cancer treatment centers that are established with a positive reputation. It's imperative that we address this issue so that those members of our community that are facing cancer are able to get the care that they so deserve. I ask you, what will all of you in this room lose as a city, a hospital, or physician if the citizens of our community continue to seek services outside our county? That's it.
So can we have question and answer?
Yes.
Any questions? Oh, come on, there have to be questions, lots. Go ahead, Victoria.
I just have a comment. Just wanted to let you know at the last Inland Empire Health Plan Governing Board meeting, our board approved funding to continue our network expansion fund. And the network expansion fund provides half of the salary for primary care physicians and specialists entering into the community that are brand new to the community.
Oh,
so far,
good.
the program has successfully brought in about 200 new PCPs and specialists into the area. So we are grateful that our board approved that, and we will continue to recruit physicians and specialists into the area. So what the fund does is it provides half of the salary for the first year or so of that physician salary.
So does the organization, and this is be directed to either of you, addressing what you said about losing them within the first 3 years, you know, we have counselors in high school and college. Are there counselors in medical school that deal with just that same issue with you know, physicians once they've graduated and they're working on their do they get any of this during their internships or their residencies?
That I can't exactly speak to, but for our program, one of the requirements is that they do stay in the area for 3 years, or else they have to pay back the funding.
Oh, maybe, and we can't extend that.
That tends to be the typical, you know, little hook is that 3-year mark, or they have to pay it back prorated. But yeah, from what I understand from my friends that are physicians, they don't address it. It's not addressed. You know, and that's why I try to catch them at the residency level.
Yes.
And you know, share all that information with them and tell them to take that time and really think about what's important and, you know, focus on that, because we don't want them to keep jumping around.
No, there needs to be a mentoring program with, you know, well-established and experienced physicians, you know, helping the new ones.
I know that, for instance, this year, UCR's graduated 50 individuals from their medical school. 10 of them were matched for residencies in Inland Empire, just 10 of the 50, and 8 stayed. So we lost a lot.
We don't have that many residency programs, though. Isn't that why?
They're slowly coming, correct, slowly coming.
Okay.
They're not coming at the speed that we need them.
So I've recently been asked to do some research on residency programs and using those. And as you mentioned, it's a great way to retain physicians because typically what predicts where a physician practices is where they do their residency and where they're from. So obviously, if you can get kids who are from here to then do their residency here, the chances of them staying are very, very high. For primary care physicians, for family medical residents, it's about 56 to 64% of them stay within 25 miles of where they do their residencies. And one of the things that I think is really admirable about UCR School of Medicine, and I say this because, full disclosure, I have board members who are with School of Medicine. But one of the things is that they have set aside preference for slots in their medical school for people who are from the Inland Empire.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a wonderful step that they're taking to try to do that.
And our CMA tries to focus on bringing these individuals back to our county. Every year we give away scholarships to med school students for if they're willing to come back to the area and practice once they complete their training. So I think if we all kind of dabble in that area and find ways to bring them back, it'll just help us get a little closer. It's not going to be the answer to solving it, but it's just one more tool we have.
So listening to our, medical leaders program participants, that's music to our ears, hearing that they grew up here, they've always lived here, and they want to come back here. So we had a question over here too. Somebody, okay, Peter?
Well, I think that's a good segue. One of the things we've just done is submit an application for a residency at the Marietta facility, and we'd love to talk with you further, I think, about how we can kind of collaborate, because that's something we recognize is when residents practice in a community, they're more likely to stay here. And we definitely recognize, we're about half the number of PCPs, at least the data I see, as what we need to serve the population of this community. And I think growing more of those, developing those, and hopefully finding candidates that want to remain here is going to be essential for us to really serve this community. So,
yeah, absolutely. Assisting them in planning their routes is going to be, key.
Sure, Lisa.
So, Sonia, thank you for that presentation. I do have a question. You mentioned something about scholarships. Recently, just a week ago, I'm on the hospital advisory committee for the Menifee Valley Hospital. We had a cardiovascular surgeon speak to us, and he talked a little bit and just touched on the shortage of doctors, but in his comment, he said we have a shortage of GP physicians because they can't afford to pay back their tuition. Their schooling, they can't afford. So how does your scholarship program work, and does it help? Is that a way that you're attracting doctors, is to help pay off their loans? Their debt?
Yes, that is one of the tools we use to, assist in the recruitment of doctors. I do know that because we lack residency programs in the U.S. as a whole, not just our area, but in the U.S., we actually have individuals that have completed med school and sit and wait for years trying to get into a residency program. They literally go and work other jobs, waiting until they've reached a point that they're no longer desirable to the residency programs. We experience the same thing with foreign trained physicians. We have a huge mass of foreign trained physicians. I have personally 4 that I'm very close friends with that were surgeons and all different things in their country, and they come over here and they can't get into residency programs either. So if we could make some changes to the laws and the rules, that would be great. We'd probably get a lot closer to achieving our goal. But yeah.
So one of our large employers, hospitals and physicians, is Kaiser, and I toured within the last year one of their new facilities, and we talked about this very thing. If Kaiser would initiate a residency program, they could make a huge impact in the region, and they've talked about it, but, so maybe we need to pursue Kaiser and
I mean, yeah, Kaiser's usually really open
Yeah.
to providing some sort of residency program. I know there's one by my office at the Kaiser there. I'm actually speaking at it in the next couple weeks to the residents there. And you know, I'm excited to see what happens with Kaiser and their med school.
Yeah.
You know, I think,
Yep.
you know, so hopefully they'll be a major player in helping us overcome and grow residencies. That'd be a great thing.
So as one more question. As cities, when you're talking to people, physicians, and a 30-year physician to move his practice out here, that's a huge leap, I think. But as cities, what can we do? What's the perception of this region as you talk to physicians?
It has a
from other
negative
places?
stigma.
Yeah.
You know, we try to label our whole area as inland Southern California. I might have even referred to it that way because everybody loves Southern California. Everyone knows Southern California. And we're just a little inland, you know, a play on words. But so we try to, you know, overcome that stigma there.
I say we're the coastal valleys.
That's
'Cause
nice.
we're over the hill from the coast.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to put it as well. So yeah, unfortunately, we do have a negative stigma, and I think it's just getting out there and, you know, presenting that information to these physicians and residents and letting them know all the wonderful things we have to our community. I mean, I'm newly relocated out. When I took this position, I moved from Orange County out here. So I'm having fun exploring all the wonderful things we have to offer. And I'll talk about that with the residents because I understand they may be from different areas as well. And we just kind of have to show that to them. I think another key is making them feel planted here. So, you know, for instance, the city of Riverside, their residency programs that they have there, they're going to provide gift cards to all the applicants that are applying to that residency program and coming to interview. You know, so they can just tour the city. You know, just little things like that, letting them know, hey, we want you. We want you here. When we have physicians that are interviewing for positions, you know, maybe have someone from your city take them.
I was going to say, are we
take them out to
working with
lunch.
you on that? Are we working with you on those issues?
Yes, I have reached out, but I got invited to this meeting first, so I have to do another meeting with the city. But yeah, you know, things like that go a long way. It makes them feel welcome. You know, it helps them become planted in our community. And once they're planted, the chances of them getting up and moving are slim. But if they're not planted and they don't feel welcome and they don't feel wanted, it's easier for them to pick up and go.
We rarely hear that in our communities. I mean, what we hear is, we love it here, it feels like a family-oriented community, it feels like a small town. I mean, don't you all get, we all get that, so.
And that's important. You need to, you need to share that feeling with those that are coming in or looking at coming in and becoming part of your community. Because that'll go a long way.
If we knew, that's exactly what we would do. So we need to get looped in with you and your process, huh? Rich?
Just curious, do you know how many programs, how many residency programs there are in the area and where they are?
In your area, I haven't been advised of any in this area.
So you don't know where they are?
I haven't been advised of any in this area.
You don't know what hospitals?
There aren't any. There aren't any.
Well, beg
Yeah,
your
Hemet's
pardon,
one of them, but yeah.
Hemet
out
Valley
here.
Medical Center and Menifee Valley Medical Center has a residency program and has had for 2 years.
But
I know
not-
I reached
not-
out to
not
the
down,
Hemet.
You know, down south, this far down southwest.
Yeah, not this far.
So Hemet, Menifee shares that program. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's just that
Is
one
that-
program, and I have them labeled under the Hemet. But anything further down, no, I'm not aware of any other residency programs. And I have reached out to that residency program numerous times. I'd have to look at my sheet, but yeah, I have reached out to the program numerous times.
Can we push? I don't know, maybe we need to, sit down with our hospitals and push a little.
It would be a great thing. Like I said, it's going to take everyone coming together, so any support that we can provide each other to make things happen, it'll just get us closer to achieving our goal.
Right?
Right?
Any other questions, comments?
I'm on staff at Temecula Valley, and I'm pretty sure that we're in the works.
They're in the works of a program,
A residency program, yeah.
but it hasn't yet taken place, right?
Not currently, no.
Okay.
Yay. Anyone else?
Just a quick personal note. I'm a Bay Area girl, and I relocated down to Southern California. So, disclaimer, not a physician, an epidemiologist, but I did my schooling at UCR and then Loma Linda, and I worked for a previous county up in the Bay Area. That's where home is. I moved back. And when I notified everyone that I was moving back down to work for Riverside County by choice, the answers the comments and reactions I got was, "You are going back to Riverside County, like on your own, like not for schooling. You're just you're making that decision." So that's kind of the reaction that I'm assuming most people give you when you're trying to promote Riverside County as a whole. But for me, the incentive personally, I worked for another county, so we had pretty much the same benefits. Mm-hmm. The only difference was that Riverside County gave me a lot more wiggle room and growth space, as opposed to some of the counties in the Bay Area who are doing pretty well when it comes to health status. And there's not much wiggle room. You're basically waiting for people to retire, to be honest, for you to grow and to be able to have the opportunity to grow. So that was my incentive for moving back.
And you're right, it is easy to obtain growth out here, and that is a selling point. I can tell you my daughter relocated from New Jersey out here in April of this year, and within a month she had a job at a physician's office. So, the opportunities that we have out here are wonderful, and we really just need to get that information out there.
So there's growth, but for physicians and their families, the same reason everyone else moved here. Quality of life, clean air, fabulous schools, fabulous housing, every type of housing you could want, large houses, large lots, small lots, everything you could want.
And except for the 215 today, the lack of traffic out here is amazing.
Say that again. Please say that again, because we never hear that. But yes, compared to San Francisco and other,
even in the Orange County, I just had to go 15 miles to my job, and I'd have to leave an hour early.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. We're spoiled, and sometimes we forget, but thank you for reminding us. So that was wonderful. So thank you. And please, we want to work with you in the attraction of those physicians.
Absolutely.
We all do.
Absolutely. Well, I will definitely be in contact.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Okay, now, are we going to move on to our subcommittees really quick? Quick.
I just want to say that, HARC is based in the Coachella Valley, and we have very, very similar issues, again, about lack of providers. And we've recently, have a couple of residency programs, and we're getting a few more. And I did this very interesting projection for the number of physicians that will stay in the area for the region. So most residency programs are a cohort of 8 for 3 years. So they're at least practicing cohort of 8 for 3 years. But given that statistic that, half of them stay afterwards, it was this absolutely amazing parabolic curve for the number of physicians that we'd see in the area. So I definitely think if there are residency programs in the works, that's awesome. Okay, so today, we split into 4 subcommittees, and I wanted to give a little bit of an update. And I know we had relatively low attendance at our last meeting, and so I thought this would also be a good chance for anyone who wasn't aware to jump on board with any of our subcommittees. So our first subcommittee is the legislative one, and this is to monitor legislation that may have an impact on cancer patients. And we have several, this one will be relatively low time commitment, about 1 to 2 hours per month. It'll primarily be via email and conference call. And we have these lovely people who have volunteered to be members. If you want to be a member of the subcommittee, or if you don't want to be a member but you just want to be in the loop on emails, please see us afterwards. Casey will take down your name and email, and we will get you in the loop. In terms of updates, first, I wanted to ask if Victoria would speak a little bit, and possibly Kathy as well, about how we're thinking about moving this forward. Victoria, would you give us a brief?
I'd be happy to. In previous assignments where I've worked with other... Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Okay. In previous assignments where I've worked with similar type of task force and committees, what we typically do is we prepare a legislative report where we cast a wide net to catch bills of interest that may have an impact to the community, to the group that we're working with. And we provide that report in advance, and then we allow the board or the commission or the task force to review and then to ask any questions. So in talking with Kathy, this afternoon, we kind of discussed that maybe we could collaborate and work together to provide some type of a meaningful report for the task force review prior to the task force meetings. And I would be happy to do that for you.
That would be good for several reasons, because we will be able, in doing so, we could take a position as a group or as individual cities and take these, the bills back to our cities, and we could file letters of support or, pros and cons, letters against, depending on what the topic is. So that would be great if we could have heads up. And then in cases where we think it would be appropriate, we could even send people to committee hearings if we wanted to in Sacramento.
So I will say that the state legislature is on recess, as you all know, until the end of August, and then they finish their work in mid-September, and then the governor will sign bills around the 1st of October. So there won't be much reporting for this group, since I understand it convenes in November, but we will provide you with an end-of-session update so you know what's being passed into law.
Yeah, and it's frantic. I mean, once they come back from recess, it's crazy, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we'll have to be kind of prepared to move quickly.
Yes.
That would be wonderful.
And thank you so much, Victoria, because, we were talking about having this subcommittee, and your being able to generate those reports will be just absolutely invaluable for us to have, and will eliminate a lot of extra work. So
yeah,
thank
subcommittee
you.
can review and make recommendations to the entire group.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, and we will be taking you up on that. All right, our second subcommittee is about health insurance. And the idea is to get a better understanding of how to navigate the insurance system for people with cancer. A couple of months ago, we had Andrea Anderson who spoke about this. Is Andrea here today? No one's here. I was blown away by her very intimate knowledge of all of the loopholes and all of the ways to best to make insurance work for people with cancer. And then Scott Brightfuss, who spoke at our main meeting, talking about some of the nitty-gritty details. So this subcommittee, I confess, has not gotten started yet, partially because, and we'll be sending out a doodle poll to identify when we can have a call for this subcommittee meeting. But the ideas are, healthcare is extraordinarily broad, and understanding all of it, even just as it pertains to cancer, is extraordinarily broad. So what I want to do on this call is to really nail down some of the specific action-oriented goals of what we want to accomplish with this. So again, if you are interested in joining or just being in the loop on emails, come see us afterwards, and we'll get you on that list. One subcommittee that we've been pretty active with is our subcommittee about a foundation to defray patient costs. It's just been shocking, everyone's testimonials about especially prescription drug costs and how through the roof they are, and how difficult it is to pay for those. So we recently had a phone call with Paula Simons, who is the executive director of Desert Cancer Foundation, which does exactly that in Coachella Valley. And so here's a very brief summary of our call. She was very, very helpful. Basically, it was founded by a single doctor who like this task force, saw the issue in '95, held a golf tournament the first year and helped 2 people. And from there, it's grown to last year they were helping 145 patients, and they also work with patient navigators to try if there's some other source of funding, some other pool of money that this person could access, to direct them and connect them to that so that they can make their dollars stretch as far as possible. She emphasized that this is absolutely due to the fact that they have a very close relationship with key providers, and she said, given who's on our task force, it seems like we have exactly the right people in the room. They have a negotiated Medicare rate, and no money exchanges hands, ever. You know, they get the bills from the treatment. Clients need to apply annually. Currently, they help clients who are at about 300% of the poverty line. And they have a $50,000 cap that the board can vote to increase if need be, but she said there's been very few instances where that's needed. As for their foundation, what it looks like, their funding mix is about 1/3 grants, 1/3 fundraising, and 1/3 events, many of which are third-party events. She emphasized that it's very important to have consistent, reliable, well-trained staff to be able to navigate this, and because of that, they have to utilize paid staff rather than volunteers. So she shared with us, which I have yet to distribute to the Foundation Subcommittee, her application documents in English and Spanish, and she'd be happy to have anybody come visit if we choose to form our own. However, after we got off the phone with her, we had a very great conversation with Kim from Michelle's Place, who mentioned that they have a very similar program to defray patient costs that they would potentially be interested in expanding rather than us going from the ground up to start our own foundation. So Kim, would you speak to that for a little bit, talk a little bit about what you already do and the similarities and what this might look like going forward?
Sure, thanks. So Michelle's Place currently has a program called our Breast Health Assistance Program, and what we do and what we've done for the past 10, 12 years is we pay for mammograms, ultrasounds, surgical consultations, biopsies for women who are uninsured or for whatever reason fall through the cracks of other programs. So we have contracts with providers, no money exchanges patients' hands. They come to us, they fill an application, we determine need, and obviously their application has to be approved. They go get the testing done, we pay the facility. We pay at Medi-Cal reimbursement rates, which is also what they do. So we have a similar program in that we pay, obviously, specific to breast cancer or breast costs. And so when we're having this conversation, it occurs to me that we are doing a similar program. This obviously is a huge expansion of what we currently do because it would encompass all cancers. It wouldn't just be breast cancer. And it would pay for treatment, whatever that looks like. And again, the subcommittee would come together to discuss that. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. No. Starting a foundation is a lot of work. Yes. Funding is a lot of work, and who's going to staff it?
Yeah, so, staffing is a lot of work and a lot of money.
A lot of money, right. Not that I'm saying we're willing to take on all those costs, and we would look for the support, obviously, of the task force. Marilyn's laughing over here. My president and founder of Michelle's Place.
You wanted something else to do, Mom.
Right.
Come on.
But we did change our vision a couple of years ago to say no one should face cancer alone at Michelle's Place. So this would be one big step in expanding that for us. It is a big step. It would be obviously a huge expansion of our programs, but something we would be willing to take on if it's something the committee believes is a good fit. And again, we would ask for help. Part of what they do there is they have a medical advisory committee that approves the application. So once a client is referred typically by a medical provider for the treatment, the medical advisory committee comes together, looks at what the application, what they're asking for, whether it's treatment or copay assistance or whatever that is, medication. The medical advisory committee decides whether that is appropriate and if we should indeed fund that treatment. We would ask for the same, and I think we have enough people in this room that could sit on that committee, so we would get the help there. So we would, again, not reinvent the wheel. We would probably design it similar to what they've got going in the desert as well.
So what about area-wise?
We'd have to determine the geographic region. So I would assume it would be the people in this room, the cities that are in this room to start, see what that looks like. Because we don't really know what the need is yet here. It's not something that's being done currently here. Right. We have a couple resources at Michelle's Place that we utilize for patients to get copay assistance and things like that. But there's no one doing that here. So we would go into it very tentatively, very quietly initially and see what that looks like.
Yes, I understand. So then would you be willing to take that back to your board and discuss it?
We did,
Okay,
and they all
so-
agreed to start the conversation with the task force.
Okay, wonderful. So then, we're open to any way that you want to do that.
Okay.
However you want to organize it.
Great. Good.
Wonderful. So maybe we need to, if you want to have side discussions with a smaller group, or if you want to put it on the agenda, or however you want to structure
Okay.
that.
Great.
Wonderful.
Microphone.
It's wonderful
Yeah.
that you're going to want to take on that role, but I think what we need to do as a next step is to sort of, in the next meeting, figure out what our goals are for the foundation, what kind of coverage, area-wise, and what we're willing to, because we're talking about big step, and then whether you're willing, because that will literally change.
Yep.
Michelle's Place will literally
Yep.
change overnight.
Yes.
With this. Yeah.
Exactly. and so it's not something we're taking lightly. And obviously it's a conversation I had with my board prior to coming here today when we talked about it after that meeting. So there will be a lot of conversation before this is something we just put out there. And the subcommittee for certain, and then I would include staff in that conversation at the subcommittee level as to what this looks like. What are the goals and objectives? Because it's like when people come into Michelle's Place and they say, we want to start something like this in San Bernardino, you're not going to start this tomorrow. This was 15 years of building. And so I look at this program as the same. We're not going to walk in and have an $800,000 a year budget to provide medical treatment. It would have to start small, and it would have to have real goals and objectives and structure and all those things, certainly. But it's something we're willing to have a conversation about to start, because again, I don't think anyone in this room is willing to start a new foundation or do the fundraising for it or staff it. But if they are, that's okay too. I'm just not willing to do that either.
It has to
I have
be
my
a
own-
marriage of what are the needs of the community, what our goals are, objectives, and
Right.
that you are willing to make that change
Yeah.
as well as an organization that's well established. That would be
Right.
So I think I would like to hear once it's finalized, exactly what Michelle's Place is willing to do.
Sure.
And then we can see how that, we can either accept or reject or negotiate to, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
that's a good starting place.
For
is
sure.
To see what Michelle's Place is willing to do with us. And certainly it is, you have wonderful reputation, great connections, and a great track record of service. So, and it's much better than reinventing the wheel.
Right.
That I was just thrilled when this came up after we all got off the phone, because, I have not personally started my own 501c3, but I've, many of my community partners have, and it's tough. It's tough, and it takes a long time, and, the fact that this has such good mission fit with the mission, and that was one of the first things I asked was, is this outside of your mission fit, because it will now be all types of cancers. And I was thrilled to hear that, no, that is perfectly within mission fit. That's very exciting. And I think Paula giving us the history sets nice realistic expectations. If we can figure this out and put it in place and help 2 people, we are on it, But I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it'll be really great discussion in our subcommittee meetings. So those of you who are on that subcommittee meeting, we will talk about this at our next one and update you all. And I think this would be a really important piece going forward. And I also think that going to Dr. Mendoza's conversation about we need to make sure what the community needs match up with what we can offer through Michelle's Place. That leads perfectly into Subcommittee 4, which is the Community Needs Assessment. And I think those results will really help inform our specific goals on what this foundation or what this branch of Michelle's Place should really be doing. So, with that perfect segue, our 4th subcommittee is the Community Health Needs Assessment, or CHNA, as it's often abbreviated. And the idea behind this is our subcommittee members are here to be the subject matter experts to ensure that the data collection gathers the right information in the right way. And thank you to all of you who are on this particular subcommittee, and thank you to all of you who sent me feedback about the survey, because this is where we're at. We've developed a draft community survey and sent it out to the subcommittee members and asked for feedback. We have collaborated. We have collated that feedback together into a great draft. I will be talking with Betsy and Erica, and then hopefully sending it out to my subcommittee members to yay or nay finalize. And wherever possible, we tried to pull questions from national surveys to provide comparable data. The CDC's BRIFIS, their behavioral risk factor surveillance survey, had some great ones. Of course, you know, the census has demographic ones that'll be very useful just to compare. And we have a section for the patients and survivors and a separate section for their caregivers to really talk about many of the things that Jim was talking about today. What supports could we put in place for caregivers as well that would make this easier? In addition to that survey, we've also just created, Charlene created a beautiful provider survey that the subcommittee will be seeing shortly for your review, to talk to providers, whether that's a physician, a nurse, a physician's assistant, anybody who's providing care in the medical setting, about their experience, their perceptions of the barriers and gaps that we have here to overcome. So that is moving along nicely, and one of the things that we will hopefully launch this in about a week or two. And one of the things, I loved all the ideas that Marianne was mentioning to the FPL team about their survey, but we will absolutely be heavily relying on all of you to help us disseminate this survey. And Charlene will be on the phone with each and every one of you to see if there's any way, shape, or form that we can help get the word out. So that's our 4 subcommittees. And again, you are welcome to jump into any subcommittee at any time. It's not a formal thing. We don't have quorum. If you just want to be on the loop on emails, that's great too. I understand you're all busy, so if you don't want to be on them, that's fine too.
And for you overachievers, you can be on every single one of them.
That's Erica. So that is my update for the subcommittees. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Perfect. So thank you all for being responsive, and please continue to be responsive. Again, we'll be in touch next week with many, many of you to talk about these different subcommittees and get calls scheduled. But it's moving forward, and we really appreciate all your help.
Great. And thank you very much. And we will see you whenever your appropriate subcommittee meeting is, or at the next meeting. And we stand adjourned. Yay. Mayor Gibbs from Murrieta had a final comment to make.
Well, actually, a few comments.
A few comments to make.
The first thing I would say is, you know, when we were discussing attracting physicians here, one of the things that struck me is everybody in this valley is eating at Richie's Diner. Everybody in this valley probably knows Jack and Linda. And to see Jack on TV advertising for Dr. Combs, that's something that you're not going to get in San Francisco or New York. To have a recognized character from the valley actually pitching for your doctors. So that's something that you could offer to young doctors setting up new practices here. So that was one thing. Regarding the 6,000 Murrieta O's, I will sign that off at the next council session and Tuesday. At the last council session, almost 2 weeks ago, one of the things that we approved was Jay Goth in the Murrieta Innovation Center. Jay has a $50 million venture capital fund. Loma Linda actually has space in the Murrieta Innovation Center, and they've been kind enough to say, you guys can actually use that. So we will be bringing the first genomics lab in this valley to start up relatively soon. And of course, their focus will be on personalized medicine. Okay, last thing. This is, if I bore you to death here, for the physicians, you already know this, but for the rest of you who don't know this, this is some of what's going on. Regretfully, I get a lot of correspondence from the Lusgarten Foundation, who they do research on pancreatic cancer. But what I say about pancreatic cancer applies to an awful lot of cancers. So this is kind of something that's going on. So projects focused on using computers to recognize patterns in medical images, just like driverless cars can identify roads, traffic, and people. In this case, the hope is to apply advanced technology to CT and MRI images to detect the subtle changes of pancreatic malignancy that a diagnostician may miss. Researchers will create an image bank with scans from many patients, some with normal pancreas, others with abnormal. By comparing images, we will be able to optimize MRI scanning, allowing for improved image resolution and more rapid process. As a result of this project, researchers hope that the patient's pancreatic cancer tumors will be detected earlier. Initial results are expected in late 2017. They're also looking at liquid biopsies from a simple vial of blood. Researchers are finding the telltale genetic material that comes from the pancreatic cancer well before symptoms appear. Early results show that about 40 to 60% of localized pancreatic cancers are detectable with liquid biopsies. Okay, organoids. 2 years ago, we announced an incredibly important breakthrough with the development of personal organoid, a three-dimensional cell culture system which reproduces a patient's tumor in addition in order to test it repeatedly. An organoid can be generated in a lab and then used to test drug responses with the aim to identify the most effective treatment for a particular patient. In this research project, the patient's tumor organoid is genetically sequenced and its genetic makeup is characterized. It is then treated with many compounds and combinations of compounds to determine which are the most effective in killing the cancer cells. This process is the essence of personalized medicine. Our next phase, we're really confident enough to start a retrospective trial in which they will compare the organoid's responsiveness to current standard of care therapies to the patient's actual clinical experience with these therapies. The accuracy of the organoid as a predictor of drug responses will be demonstrated. The initiation of a clinical trial in collaboration with Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center is also underway. After performing biopsies of patients' tumors, the team conducts genetic sequencing of tumor and normal DNA, grow organoids from the fresh tumor cells, and use a drug screening platform to test multiple treatments and treatment combinations. The goal of this work is to tailor therapy to the specific treatment vulnerabilities of each patient's cancer. For those of you who read the Wall Street Journal as well, you've probably seen that Dr. Gottlieb, who's the new director of the Food and Drug Administration, is committed that he's going to expedite the FDA process for drug approval. And certainly what you've all heard and what you all know is that there is a recognition, certainly at the senior leadership of the FDA with Dr. Gottlieb there, that for patients who have no other alternative except death, the ability to get through the process quickly and say, there is a treatment out there. It has not been approved for public use, but if you're willing to sign the disclaimer form, we will try and make that available. And
California passed that already.
And that's something that we, that are involved with the legislative committee, can certainly try and push that. So far, I haven't heard back from Ken Calvert's office. I asked him when J.J. Prechtel appeared here a couple of months ago to get J.J. in to see Dr. Gottlieb and let him tell Dr. Gottlieb his story, because that's just another piece of human data that, and that's why we have everybody take their microphone, because when you deal with numbers, that's all they are. They're just statistics. When you deal with people at the microphone telling their stories and the stories of their loved ones, then it becomes much more real. And it's harder for bureaucrats to turn down their response. So anyway, that's it. Thank you for me boring you. See you next time.
Oh, that wasn't boring. That was very informative. Anybody else? No? Anyone else? No? All right. Then we will see you next time. Thank you very much.